Take her away from this pack and bring her to my castle. She is under my protection now." The entire hall went silent. No one expected the most powerful alpha king in America to say those words about Elena Whitmore. Not after watching her stand alone in the center of the pack gathering, with everyone looking at her like she was a problem that needed to be solved. Elena had spent her whole life learning one painful truth. An Omega without status was easy to ignore. But she never imagined she would become the price paid for someone else's debt. The cold mountain air surrounded the small Colorado pack as the elders announced the decision. Her stepmother stood beside the council table, avoiding Elena's eyes. "The debt must be settled," the elders said. "The Blackthorn Dominion has offered protection in exchange for a royal agreement." Elena's heart sank. She already knew what that meant. "You're sending me away?" she whispered. Her stepmother looked away. "It is the only choice." Elena almost laughed at those words. The only choice. Everyone always said that when the choice was never theirs to make. She looked around the room where she had grown up, searching for one person who would tell them they were wrong. No one did. Then the doors opened. The guards of Blackthorn Dominion entered first, followed by the man every wolf in the country knew by name. Adrian Blackthorn, the Alpha King. He carried the kind of presence that made conversations disappear. He was not loud. He did not need to be. His authority filled the room before he even spoke. But when his eyes found Elena, something unexpected happened. The ancient ring on his hand began to glow. Only for a second. Only enough for him to notice. Adrian's expression changed slightly. The elders did not see it. The pack did not see it. But he felt it. A connection he had spent years believing was impossible. Elena felt something too. A strange warmth in the middle of the cold room, like a door inside her heart had opened without permission. She quickly looked away. "Why me?" she asked quietly. Adrian studied her carefully. Most people lowered their heads when they stood before him. Elena did not. She looked hurt, afraid, and angry, but she still stood tall. "Because," Adrian finally answered, "you are not what they claim you are." The words shocked everyone. A few members of the pack exchanged worried looks. An Omega like Elena was supposed to arrive at the castle with no questions and no voice. But Adrian had just done something no Alpha King had done before. He had defended her publicly. Elena did not know why the most powerful wolf in the world had chosen her. She did not know about the forgotten bloodline, the hidden truth, or the secret buried beneath her scent. All she knew was that the moment she stepped into Adrian Blackthorn's world, her life stopped belonging to the people who abandoned her. And somewhere deep inside the ancient walls of Blackthorn Castle, a bond that had been waiting for years had finally awakened. The journey to Blackthorn Castle felt longer than Elena Whitmore expected. The mountain road stretched for miles beneath a gray sky, and every turn took her farther away from the only home she had ever known. She sat quietly inside the royal carriage, watching the familiar forest disappear behind her. She had imagined many endings to her life in the old pack village, but she never imagined leaving as a debt payment. When the carriage finally passed through the gates of Blackthorn Castle, Elena looked up at the towering stone walls surrounding her. The place felt less like a home and more like a world built for people who had never been forgotten. As she stepped inside, servants and guards immediately lowered their voices. Everyone knew who she was. The Omega who arrived with the Alpha King. The girl no one expected to matter. A woman in a silver dress approached with a polite but distant expression. "I am Lady Evelyn, head of the royal household. Your rooms have been prepared." Elena nodded. "Thank you." The woman hesitated before adding, "You should understand something. Many people here will question why His Majesty brought you to the castle." Elena gave a small, tired smile. "I am already used to people questioning why I exist." Those words stayed with Lady Evelyn long after Elena walked away. Later that evening, Adrian Blackthorn stood in his private study, looking over old records from the royal archives. He had spent years searching for answers about a forgotten prophecy connected to the future of the packs, but he never expected the answer to arrive at his doorstep. His advisor, Marcus Hale, placed a document on the table. "Are you certain about this, Your Majesty?" Adrian looked down at the ancient symbol marked on the page. "No," Marcus frowned. "No." Adrian sighed. "I am certain that something about her changes everything. I am not certain why." Across the castle, Elena wandered into the gardens behind the eastern wing. She needed space. She needed a moment where nobody looked at her like a problem waiting to be solved. There, she found an injured old wolf resting near the trees. Instead of being afraid, Elena slowly approached and offered water from a small silver cup she carried. The wolf watched her carefully, then relaxed. From the castle balcony above, Adrian saw the moment. He had watched powerful warriors fail to earn the trust of that wolf for years. Yet Elena, the Omega everyone ignored, had done it without trying. Something inside him shifted. Not anger, not obligation. Something he did not understand. The next morning, rumors spread through Blackthorn Castle. The mysterious Omega had been welcomed by the royal wolves. Some believed it was a sign. Others believed it was a threat. During breakfast, several noble members of the pack challenged Adrian's decision. An unknown Omega cannot influence royal matters, one elder said. Adrian remained calm. She has not asked for influence. Then why is she here? Another asked. The room became silent. Adrian looked toward Elena, who stood near the doorway listening. For a moment, the entire kingdom waited for his answer. Because, he said, I believe we have spent too long judging people before knowing their truth. Elena did not know why those words affected her. She had spent years hearing what she could not become. But for the first time, someone powerful had spoken about discovering who she truly was. And deep beneath Blackthorn Castle, the ancient bond between two souls quietly grew stronger, waiting for the secret that would soon change everything. The days that followed inside Blackthorn Castle were nothing like Elena Whitmore expected. She had prepared herself for cold stares, whispered rumors, and a life where she would always feel like an outsider. But something strange happened instead. People began noticing her. Not because of her title. Not because the Alpha King had brought her there. They noticed the small things. The way she remembered the names of the kitchen workers. The way she stopped to help an old gardener carry supplies across the courtyard. The way the royal wolves, creatures that usually kept their distance from strangers, seemed calmer whenever she was nearby. Elena did not understand why. She had spent years being told that her presence meant nothing. Yet inside the walls of Blackthorn Castle, her smallest actions seemed to matter. One afternoon, while walking through the eastern gardens, Elena found Adrian standing near the old training grounds, watching the pack members practice their duties. Unlike the others, he did not look like a king in that moment. He looked like someone carrying a weight no one else could see. You are avoiding the main hall, Adrian said. Elena looked surprised. Is it that obvious? To me, yes. She looked away with a small smile. I am not used to rooms where everyone is waiting for me to make a mistake. Adrian studied her expression. You believe they are waiting for you to fail, aren't they? She asked. Back home, I was always the Omega they could sacrifice if something went wrong. Adrian's expression hardened, but not with anger toward her. With disappointment toward the world that had made her believe that. You should never have been treated that way. Elena looked at him carefully. You say that like you know what it feels like. For a moment, Adrian said nothing. The Alpha King who commanded thousands of wolves suddenly seemed unsure of his own answer. Power does not mean people see you, he finally said. Sometimes it only means more people expect something from you. The honesty surprised Elena. She had expected arrogance from a ruler like him. She did not expect loneliness. That evening, a royal gathering was held inside the castle. The purpose was simple, to introduce Elena officially to the important members of the Blackthorn Pack. But the moment she entered the grand hall, the whispers returned. She has no royal blood. She came from a small mountain pack. Why would the Alpha King protect her? Elena kept her head high, even though every word felt familiar. Then one of the elders stepped forward. Before we welcome someone into our circle, we should know what she truly is. The hall became quiet. Elena felt the old feeling return. The feeling of being judged before anyone knew her. Adrian moved beside her. Careful, he said calmly. The elder looked at him. Your Majesty, we only seek the truth. Adrian looked across the room. Then seek it without forgetting her humanity. Those words changed the atmosphere. For the first time, Elena saw something clearly. Adrian was not protecting her because he owned her future. He was protecting her because he believed she deserved a choice. Later that night, Elena stood alone near the castle window, looking at the lights of the kingdom below. She placed a hand over her heart as a strange warmth appeared again. The same feeling she had experienced when she first met Adrian. Somewhere deep inside her, something hidden was waking up. And far beneath the castle, Inside an ancient chamber sealed for generations, a forgotten symbol began to shine once more. The morning after the royal gathering, Elena Whitmore noticed something different about Blackthorn Castle. The whispers had not disappeared completely, but they had changed. Before, people looked at her like she was a mistake that had entered the wrong world. Now, some looked at her with curiosity. Others looked at her with uncertainty. And a few looked at her with fear. Elena did not know which was worse. She had spent her entire life being underestimated. She knew how to handle being ignored. But being noticed by an entire kingdom was something completely different. Meanwhile, inside the royal archives, Adrian Blackthorn searched through hundreds of years of forgotten records. The symbol that appeared near Elena was not just an ordinary mark. It belonged to an ancient line connected to the first leaders of the United Pax. Marcus Hale, his most trusted advisor, placed another document on the table. "Your Majesty, there is something you need to see." Adrian looked at the old parchment. The words were faded, but the meaning was clear. An omega carrying the lost mark will appear when the Pax begin to divide. Adrian stared at the page. That cannot be her. Marcus looked at him quietly. You have already considered that it might be. Adrian closed the document. He did not want to believe it. Not because he doubted Elena. Because if the prophecy was true, her life would become a battlefield of expectations. She had just escaped one cage. He refused to place her inside another one. Later that afternoon, Elena found Adrian near the castle library. She could tell immediately that something was wrong. "You found something about me," she said. Adrian looked at her. "Why do you think that?" "Because every time someone discovers something important about me, they stop talking to me like I am a person." Her words caught him off guard. Adrian had faced rival leaders, difficult negotiations, and impossible decisions. But Elena's quiet honesty was harder to face. "I am trying to protect you," he said. Elena lowered her eyes. "That is what everyone says before they decide what happens to me." The silence between them was heavy. Adrian realized something important in that moment. He had spent years protecting his kingdom by controlling every outcome. But Elena was not a problem to solve. She was someone who deserved the truth. "You are right," he finally said. "And I owe you an explanation." Before he could continue, the castle bells rang. A message had arrived from Elena's former mountain pack. The council had received information that her departure had caused unrest. Some members of the pack wanted answers about why she was taken to Blackthorn Castle. Elena immediately worried about the people she left behind. "I need to know if they are safe," she said. Adrian watched her carefully. Even after everything they had done to her, her first concern was still them. That was the part of Elena he could not understand. She carried pain, but she did not let it turn her heart cold. That evening, Adrian brought Elena to the old royal chamber beneath the castle. The walls were covered with symbols from generations of Alpha Kings. "Why are you showing me this?" Elena asked. Adrian looked at the ancient markings. "Because I think your story began long before you ever entered my castle." Elena stepped closer. As her hand moved near one of the symbols, the hidden mark beneath the stone walls responded with a soft golden light. Both of them froze. The castle had recognized her. And somewhere in the shadows of Blackthorn Dominion, someone else had just learned that the forgotten Omega was far more important than anyone expected. The golden light inside the ancient chamber disappeared as quickly as it appeared, leaving Elena Whitmore and Adrian Blackthorn standing in complete silence. For a moment, neither of them knew what to say. The old walls of Blackthorn Castle had revealed something neither of them was prepared to face. Elena looked at the symbol carved into the stone, then back at Adrian. "What does this mean?" she asked. Adrian did not answer immediately. The Alpha King, who always seemed to have a solution, suddenly looked like a man searching for the right words. "It means there are things about your past that were hidden from you." Elena felt her chest tighten. She had spent years wondering why she never felt like she belonged anywhere. Now, standing in a royal chamber beneath the castle, she was being told that even her own story had been kept from her. "Who knew?" she asked quietly. Adrian's silence answered before his words did. "Not everyone, but someone did." Elena stepped back. The disappointment on her face was not because she had discovered a secret. It was because once again, someone had made decisions about her life without giving her a choice. Adrian noticed immediately. "Elena." She looked at him. "Do you understand what it feels like to find out your entire life was arranged by people who thought they knew better?" Adrian had no easy answer. Because he did understand. In a different way, He had lived the same reality. A crown had been placed on his shoulders before he was old enough to understand what it meant. But unlike Elena, he had chosen to carry it. She had never been given that choice. The next morning, the truth about the ancient symbol remained hidden from most of the pack. Adrian wanted time to investigate before allowing rumors to spread. But secrets rarely stayed buried inside a kingdom. During a royal council meeting, several leaders questioned Elena's presence again. "Your Majesty, this situation has become dangerous," said Elder Rowan. An unknown Omega appearing with an ancient mark could create instability among the packs. Adrian remained calm. "She is not a threat." "You cannot know that." Those words changed the room. Elena, who had been standing quietly near the doorway, heard every word. She realized something painful. To many people in this kingdom, she was still a mystery before she was a person. Later that day, she found Adrian in the courtyard. "They are afraid of me," she said. Adrian looked at her. "They are afraid of what they do not understand." "And what about you?" Elena asked. The question surprised him. "Are you afraid of what I might be?" Adrian looked away for a moment. The honest answer was complicated. He was not afraid of Elena. He was afraid of what would happen if the world discovered her importance. He was afraid powerful people would try to control her. He was afraid he would fail to protect someone who had already been failed too many times. "No," he finally said. "I am afraid that everyone will see your value and forget that you are still a person." Elena did not expect that answer. For the first time, she saw the man behind the title. That evening, a message arrived from the mountain pack where Elena grew up. The debt records had been reviewed, and something impossible had been discovered. The agreement that sent Elena away was never approved by the royal court. Someone had created a false debt to remove her from her home. Elena stared at the message in disbelief. The betrayal was deeper than she imagined. But before she could process it, another truth appeared. The false agreement carried a royal seal from inside Blackthorn Dominion itself. Someone close to the throne had wanted Elena gone. And now that she had returned to the center of power, they were watching her carefully. The discovery of the false debt agreement changed everything inside Blackthorn Castle. Elena Whitmore had always believed her life was controlled by people who saw her as a burden. But now she learned something even more painful. Someone had carefully planned the moment she was taken away from her mountain pack. Someone had wanted her far from the truth hidden beneath the kingdom. She stood inside the royal library, holding the old document in her hands. The fake agreement carried the mark of someone connected to the throne. "How long have people been hiding this from me?" Elena asked. Adrian Blackthorn stood across from her, his expression serious. "I do not know yet, but you will find out." It was not a question. Adrian nodded. "I will." Elena looked down at the paper. "That is the problem. Everyone keeps promising they will find answers after making choices for me." Adrian understood the pain behind her words. This time, he did not try to defend himself. He simply said, "Then I will start by giving you a choice." Elena looked at him. "What choice?" "You can leave Blackthorn Castle if that is what you want." The answer surprised her. She expected a king to protect his interests. She did not expect him to step aside. "You would let me go?" Adrian's voice remained calm. "I would rather lose your presence than keep you somewhere you do not choose to be." For a moment, Elena saw something different in him. Adrian Blackthorn was not trying to claim control over her future. He was trying to give it back. But before Elena could answer, another message arrived from the mountain pack. The situation there had become unstable. Without the royal agreement that protected them, smaller packs were questioning their alliance. Elena immediately made her decision. "I need to return." Adrian looked at her carefully. "To the place that sent you away?" Elena nodded. "Yes, because they still need someone to stand for them." Adrian was surprised. After everything that happened, Elena still wanted to help the people who had abandoned her. "Why?" he asked. Elena took a breath. "Because I know what it feels like when nobody chooses you." Her answer stayed with him. The journey back to the mountain territory took several hours through the forests surrounding Blackthorn Dominion. Elena noticed something during the trip. Adrian was different outside the castle. He was still the Alpha King, but he listened more than he spoke. He asked questions about the pack members, the land, and the people who lived there. When they finally arrived, Elena saw the same village she had left behind. But this time, she did not arrive as someone being taken away. She arrived standing beside the most powerful alpha in the region. The pack members gathered quickly. Some looked ashamed. Some looked uncertain. Her former elders avoided her eyes. Then one of them stepped forward. Elena, we did not know the agreement was false. She looked at him quietly. You still allowed them to decide my future. Nobody answered. The silence said enough. Before the conversation could continue, a strange reaction came from the wolves near the village. They moved toward Elena, not with fear, but recognition. The same ancient feeling she had experienced at Blackthorn Castle returned. Adrian noticed it too. The connection between Elena and the pack was becoming impossible to ignore. Then a messenger arrived with unexpected news. The royal council had called for an emergency gathering. They wanted Elena brought before every major pack leader in the kingdom. Not as a guest, not as an Omega, but as someone whose existence could change the future of every pack. Elena looked at Adrian. What happens if they do not accept me? Adrian answered quietly. Then they will have to answer to me. But Elena shook her head. No. She looked toward the gathered wolves around her. This time, they need to hear my voice. And for the first time in her life, Elena walked toward the center of power not because someone forced her there, but because she chose to be seen. The emergency gathering of the packs was unlike anything Elena Whitmore had ever experienced. For years, she had stood at the edge of every room, listening while others decided what she deserved. But now, hundreds of wolves from different territories had gathered because of her. Not because she was powerless. Not because she was an Omega they could ignore. They were there because they finally realized there was a truth they could no longer avoid. The Great Hall of Blackthorn Dominion was filled with leaders from across the kingdom. Each pack carried its own history, its own traditions, and its own expectations. Elena stood beside Adrian Blackthorn, but she did not hide behind him. She knew this moment belonged to her. Elder Rowan stepped forward first. The symbol connected to Elena's bloodline has not appeared for generations. We cannot make decisions based on legends. Elena looked at him calmly. Then do not make decisions based on fear either. The room became quiet. Many expected the Alpha King to speak for her. Instead, Adrian remained silent. He wanted them to hear Elena's voice. That choice did not go unnoticed. Marcus Hale watched from the side of the room, realizing that Adrian was changing in ways nobody expected. The Alpha King who once carried every burden alone was finally allowing someone else to stand beside him. Elena took a step forward. I know what you see when you look at me, she said. You see an Omega from a small pack. Someone who was sent away because people thought she had no value. The room stayed silent. But my worth was never decided by the people who failed to see it. Her words reached every corner of the hall. Adrian watched her with quiet admiration. He had met many leaders who demanded respect. Elena was different. She earned it by telling the truth. Then one of the oldest pack guardians approached with an ancient record. There is something the royal archives did not reveal, he said. He opened the book and showed the forgotten symbol. The first united packs were not built by strength alone. They were built by balance. The Alpha King protected the kingdom, but the Heartkeeper guided the future. Elena looked confused. Heartkeeper. The guardian nodded. The title given to the one who can understand the connection between every pack. The one who remembers what others choose to forget. A wave of whispers moved through the hall. The truth was becoming clear. Elena was not valuable because of power. She was valuable because she represented something the packs had lost. Trust. But not everyone accepted it. A noble leader from the Northern Territories stepped forward. If she becomes important, what happens to the traditions that have guided us for centuries? Adrian finally spoke. His voice was calm, but everyone listened. A tradition that requires someone to lose their freedom was never worth protecting. The hall fell silent. Elena looked at him. She knew those words were not just about her. They were about him too. Adrian had spent his entire life serving a system that demanded sacrifice from everyone, including himself. After the gathering ended, Elena found Adrian outside the castle walls. Snow covered the ground, and the evening air was peaceful. You surprised them today, she said. Adrian looked toward the mountains. You surprised me. Elena smiled slightly. How? He turned toward her. Because you walked into a room full of powerful people who doubted you, and you never asked them to give you permission to matter. For a brief moment, the distance between them felt smaller. The strange connection they both felt grew stronger. But before either of them could say more, a royal messenger arrived with a sealed letter. The message contained a warning from inside the palace. Someone had discovered the truth about Elena's bloodline, and they were preparing to reveal a secret that could destroy Adrian's claim to the throne. The sealed letter from the royal messenger changed the peaceful evening into a moment of uncertainty. Elena Whitmore watched Adrian Blackthorne read the message, and she immediately noticed the change in his expression. He was still calm, still controlled, but she had learned enough about him to recognize when something was wrong. "What does it say?" Elena asked. Adrian folded the letter slowly. "Someone inside the royal council knows about your bloodline." Elena felt a familiar weight return to her chest. She had spent her whole life running from secrets she never understood. Now those secrets were following her into the center of the kingdom. "And what will they do with that information?" she asked. Adrian looked toward the castle lights in the distance. "They will try to use it." Those words confirmed her fear. The moment people discovered she mattered, they would stop seeing Elena as a person and start seeing her as an opportunity. Back at Blackthorn Castle, the royal council gathered before sunrise. The atmosphere was different from before. This time, nobody questioned whether Elena was important. They questioned what her existence meant for the future of the throne. Elder Rowan placed an old record on the table. The Heartkeeper bloodline was connected to the founding of the United Pax. If Elena carries this legacy, then the rules of succession may need to be reconsidered. A wave of concern moved through the room. Adrian remained standing at the head of the council. "Choose your words carefully." One of the nobles looked at him. "Your Majesty, we are only discussing possibilities." Adrian's expression remained steady. "No, you are discussing whether a woman should lose her freedom because of something she never asked for." Elena stood quietly near the doorway, listening. She had expected people to fight over her. She did not expect Adrian to fight against the idea itself. After the meeting, Elena found him in the castle garden. "You are making enemies for me," she said. Adrian looked at her. "No, they are showing you who they already were." Elena looked down at the snow-covered path. "You could lose your position because of this." Adrian was silent for a moment. Then he said, "A throne that requires me to ignore what is right is not a throne worth keeping." His answer surprised her. The man who carried an entire kingdom on his shoulders was willing to risk everything because he believed she deserved a choice. But Elena also understood something. She did not want to become another reason Adrian sacrificed himself. "I do not want you to protect me by losing yourself," she said. Adrian looked at her carefully. "And I do not want you to believe your existence is a burden." Those words stayed between them. The bond they shared was becoming harder to ignore. Not because of destiny, because of trust. That night, Elena returned to the ancient chamber beneath Blackthorn Castle. She needed answers about the Heartkeeper legacy. Inside the chamber, she discovered a hidden message left by the first guardian. It was not a command. It was a choice. The Heartkeeper does not serve the crown. The Heartkeeper stands beside those who earn her trust. Elena read the words again and again. She finally understood. Her value was never about becoming someone powerful. It was about having the courage to decide who she wanted to become. But before she could leave, footsteps echoed outside the chamber. A familiar voice spoke from the darkness. "You were never supposed to discover this." Elena turned. Standing at the entrance was someone from the royal household. Someone who had access to the secrets of Blackthorn Castle. Someone who knew the truth from the beginning. And in that moment, Elena realized the greatest threat was not the people who doubted her. It was the person who had been hiding behind the crown all along. The secret chamber beneath Blackthorn Castle had always been a place where the past waited quietly. But on this night, it became the place where Elena Whitmore finally faced the truth about her own story. Standing at the entrance was Lady Evelyn, the head of the royal household, the woman who had welcomed Elena when she first arrived at the castle. For a moment, Elena could not speak. "You knew," Elena said softly. Lady Evelyn looked down. "I knew there was something hidden about your past." Elena's heart sank. "And you said nothing." The older woman closed her eyes. "Because I was afraid." Elena expected anger to rise inside her, but instead, she felt something deeper. Disappointment. The same feeling she had carried for years. People always claimed they were protecting her. But protection without honesty was just another way of taking away her choice. "What were you afraid of?" Elena asked. Lady Evelyn looked toward the ancient symbols covering the walls. "The moment the council discovered who you were, they would stop seeing you as Elena. They would see a symbol, a solution, a way to control the future of the Pax." Elena understood those words because she had lived them. She had been treated as a problem to solve before she was ever treated as a person. When Adrian Blackthorne arrived moments later, He immediately understood what had happened. His eyes moved from Elena to Lady Evelyn. "How long?" he asked. Lady Evelyn answered quietly. "Years." The room became silent. Adrian had faced political challenges before. He had negotiated with rival leaders and carried the expectations of an entire kingdom. But this betrayal felt different because it happened inside his own home. Elena looked at him. "Now you understand how it feels." Adrian lowered his gaze. "Yes." There was no excuse in his voice, only acceptance. The next morning, Adrian called every major pack leader to Blackthorn Castle. He knew hiding the truth would only repeat the same mistakes that had hurt Elena. The great hall filled once again, but this time Elena did not stand quietly at the side. She stood beside Adrian by her own decision. Adrian addressed the gathered packs. "For generations, we have protected traditions. But some traditions were built from fear, not wisdom." The room remained still. An Alpha King's responsibility is not to control every life under his rule. It is to protect the freedom of those who trust him. Then Adrian turned toward Elena. She was never a debt. She was never a weapon. She was never a symbol. His voice became stronger. "She is Elena Whitmore, and her choices belong to her." Those words changed everything. Elena looked across the hall and saw something she had never seen before. Respect. Not from everyone. Not immediately, but enough to prove that change had begun. The council members who supported the false agreement were removed from their positions and forced to answer for their decisions. The old system that allowed powerful people to decide the lives of others began to change. But Elena did not ask for revenge. She asked for something more important. A future where no Omega would be treated as less because of where they were born. Months later, Blackthorn Castle felt different. It was still a place of responsibility, but it was no longer a place built only on duty and tradition. Elena walked through the gardens where she once felt like a stranger. Now, she heard laughter from pack members who once avoided her. Adrian joined her beneath the old trees. "Do you ever regret coming here?" he asked. Elena smiled. "I did not choose how I arrived." She looked toward the castle. "But I chose what happened after." Adrian nodded. He had spent his life believing a king needed to be the strongest person in the room. Elena taught him something different. A true leader was not the person who demanded loyalty. It was the person who earned it. Their bond was not a command written by destiny. It was a promise built through trust, honesty, and choice. And years later, when stories were told about the Alpha King who changed his kingdom, people did not remember him because he had the greatest power. They remembered him because when the world tried to decide Elena Whitmore's worth, Adrian Blackthorn gave her the one thing nobody else had ever given her: the freedom to choose. And that choice changed everything.